Now this verse. Israel came out of Egypt. They just experienced a great miracle from God. The lamb was slain. The blood was spilled. The death angel passed over. A great picture of redemption. They came out rejoicing, full of happiness. Their dream finally is true. The only problem is that happiness did not last very long. 3 days later, Pharaoh woke up and realized he lost a bunch of slaves. He mustered up his army, and the Bible says he went after them to bring them back to Egypt. And when Israel saw that, this is where the complaining came in. Fear kicked in. We knew this is not going to work. We thought, we told you, Moses, and now this is true. And Moses says the following words to them. He says, don't be afraid. Stand still. You will see the salvation of the Lord, which He will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you will see again no more forever. Only stand still and God will fight for you. If you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. Just one thought. If God brought me to this, He intends to get me through it. God did not bring him to Red Sea to kill him. God did not bring him to Red Sea to drown them. God did not do all of those works so He can drop them right in front of the Red Sea. I believe sometimes same thing happens in our life. We experience certain works of God, we experience the miracles of God, we experience the salvation, we experience answered prayers, and then we can come to a place where the future looks dim, the past looks bright. We come to a point where we see that the future looks completely dark and the past looks very attractive. The future looks impossible. It seems like there is no way I will ever be able to get through this. This is the end of my life. This is the end of my future. This is done. And then you're remembering what God has done. You're like, if God intended to end my life here, why did He do the 10 plagues? And I want us to use a little bit of common sense to realize that God is not planning to drown us at the Red Sea. The Red Sea, if God brought you to it, He intends to get you through it. If you're facing a financial problem right now and maybe it seems impossible and you have explored every possibility and you cannot get it through, I want to encourage you today to let you know, do not be afraid of the Red Sea. Maybe you don't have a solution, maybe you don't have a boat, maybe you don't have a swimming skills to get through it, but God has a way to get you through. God has a way to get you out. When we got this building, our pastor, he had the vision, and the vision was to see a church that will be filled with people in Tri-Cities who are going to come to know Jesus. He had a desire, had a vision, and then he decided to get a building. He got a building. The only problem is there was no money for the building. We were a very small church. We were not registered by the government. We had no finances as to speak of. We could not afford this building. But see, one thing is that if God gave that dream inside of him, God doesn't play games with us. And our pastor believed that God brought me to this, and this impossible situation, He will get me through it. And then God gave us the building. We got a rental, people who started to rent the facility. They paid for the mortgage for about 15 to 16 years. And then last year when they moved out, the building was paid off, and today we own it free and clear. My pastor, he had a vision to reach out to the English speaking community. There was one big Red Sea, and that Red Sea is nobody spoke English. He did not speak English. The little children that he had and nephews, they did not speak English. And so, but you must understand, when God gives you a promise, He will present you to a problem where He will test your faith. Where He will test your faith. Why? Because He wants to purify your faith. Red Sea is important because there are things Red Sea will kill in you. No other place will. See, Red Sea was necessary because Red Sea drowned Pharaoh. While Israel thought that they will die in the Red Sea, but God was actually planning to cleanse them through the Red Sea and drown Pharaoh. And that's why I want to thank God for every sea in my life. Because while I thought I will die in the Red Sea, in reality, my pride died in the Red Sea. My laziness died in the Red Sea. My self-dependence died in the Red Sea. My fear died in the Red Sea. Sickness died in the Red Sea. Demons died in the Red Sea. My failure died in the Red Sea. Somebody give God some praise. Somebody give God some praise. Woo. Red Sea is important to us. I know we're terrified of it, but that is the only place the enemy cannot follow you. There are certain furnaces, Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego, that you have to go through, and they won't burn you. They'll burn the ropes the enemy placed on you. See, that's why sometimes some furnaces are necessary, because they bring cleansing. You come out of it without ego. You come out of it and pride is squashed. You come out of it and there is a sense of purity that exists, a sense of passion. And so God builds a backbone inside of you. See, before you had a wishbone, but you went through that stuff and you're like, man, I can take hell and high water. If I got through that with God, listen, nothing is impossible to God. Sometimes you go through a Red Sea, and it's not because the Lord wants to drown you. It's because the Lord is cleansing you. He's cleansing you from unbelief. He's cleansing you from emotional drama. That little emotional roller coaster, I don't feel like God is with me, He left, and God will cleanse that out. So you will say like Job, I know my Redeemer lives. You will say like Paul, I know in whom I have believed. Do I feel Him? No. Do I see Him? No. But I know He is alive. Be still and know the Lord is God. Why? God will cleanse that emotionalism in us. God will take us through the Red Sea. He will cleanse us from generational curses that are attached to us, and we feel like, man, I'm gonna die in this, I'm not gonna make through this. But see, God will revive your fervor and your passion for His presence like never before. You know, when we started to, before we saw the movement of the Lord in our church, before we start seeing people coming to know Jesus on a regular basis, you know, we faced an impossible wall. I remember personally when I was already a youth pastor, you know, and the assignment was on our life to see breakthrough. We've done everything we could, we felt like. And it felt like, man, this thing is impossible. We can't get through it. 50 kids on Wednesday night, on Thursday night, and there was everything that we did, we couldn't push through. And it seems like this is it. But I'm like, if God gave us a building, it wasn't so we die here. If God gave us a miracle, if God wouldn't do that, if He would plan to shut our church down, God wouldn't be that good with 10 plagues if He intended to have my funeral at the bottom of the rivers of the sea. There's something that inside was saying, no, there has to be a way out, but I don't see it. But our worship team did a song a while ago. It says, Waymaker. My Bible tells me Jesus is the way. See, when there seems to be no way, I just want to encourage you, have this resolution inside of your spirit. God did not bring me to this to drown me here. And if I have to go through the water, it's because God is going to give me a bath. I will make it through this water. Pharaoh will not. Fear will not. My sickness will not. Failure will not. Ropes will be burned. Pharaoh will die. Come on, somebody, give God some praise right now.